everybody. Let's see how many are out there.
There are 3 participants in the conference.
So somebody else is here besides Christy. Who else is out there with us?
This is Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I really don't know what this work is going to be about for the next 6 weeks, but we're going to do it. I am real excited about the Kid 201 work that we're doing. And we're getting a lot of new stuff in the kid class, and that's reflecting back on the script work already. There'll be a whole new version of the book again in another 3 months. But I'm really excited about it. We're getting we've had lots of new insights in the past year, and we're getting more even as we go. And I was talking with Suzanne Dowling today, and we had a bit of a breakthrough there, and you know, more and more stuff is coming. And but another thing that becomes very obvious is the extent to which we have to get spiritual adult in gear to do this work. We can't make any significant progress with script really until we know when we're in emotion, till we recognize that we're in emotion. And if you recognize that you're in emotion, that means that there's somebody recognizing that somebody's in emotion, and so we have a bit of a spiritual adult and a bit of a kid there. And to really get command of your script, without even turning it up, but to just get command of it, we need to get to the point where we never miss the glitch. And that requires that there's some level of witnessing consciousness always present. And similarly, and especially when we get into the kid work, there has to be a lot of spiritual adult in here. We have to have the amount that the same spiritual adult that's listening to the glitch has to also feel the kid coming up. But it has to be strong enough to intervene when the kid comes up and not let the kid go out there to get its needs met, but show the kid where the needs should be met. So there has to be spiritual adult there. There has to be enough spiritual adult to contain the kid so we can feel the feelings, prevent the anger, and do all that work. So my purpose in this, and I really think it's probably only going to go for the 8 weeks that the script and kid classes continue. My purpose for this is to make sure that I'm supporting that work in any way I can. So I see this as an opportunity to discuss in-depth questions about script, or casual ones too, but in-depth ones. If you really want to sit down and worry, we can talk about one topic for the whole hour, if that's what happens, you know. But we can do in-depth talking about spiritual aspects of script, the spiritual aspects, the fact that it's a spiritual program, the fact that the steps are spiritual, the fact that the axioms are spiritual. Ditto for kid. Any questions about kid or in-depth questions about how it works or why we do this or what does this mean? You know. Also, every lie has to be corrected with a specific truth, the correct truth. That's why Joel talks about specific truth so much. The fact that 3 times 3 is 9 does not solve the problem that 2 plus 2 equals 5. You know, it's the wrong specific truth to heal 2 plus 2 equals 5. The solution for that is 2 plus 2 equals 4. So we have to make sure that we know the truth that we need to be teaching our kids in order to wean them away from the terror. And also, this is a good place to talk about your practice and what your practice looks like, or what you, or any kind of questions you have about practice. And I'm also wide open to questions about anything in Pointing at the Moon or any other teaching. If you have some other teaching you want to know about, why I will listen to it and see whether or not I know what they're talking about. I may or may not, unless it's a teaching that I have followed. Certainly I have an in-depth understanding of Robert and Joel, so I can talk in depth about those two. But others, I may or may not, you know. So often, what does so-and-so mean when he says such and such? is a question which requires the context of the entire teaching to know what he meant. So often we understand. So anyway, so it's your time, and it's in support of the scripture and kid work, but it's also in support of growing spiritual adults. Wide open to everybody.
Maybe I could start?
Yep, speak up, please.
Okay, sure.
Oh, good. Let me turn this up a little bit. Okay, go ahead now.
All right, I'm seeing if I can turn my phone up. Let's see.
Yeah, we got you better now, though. I got mine turned up.
Is this too loud or is this okay?
Wonderful.
Okay. I was thinking today about how 12-step programs emphasize recognizing feelings. And I was also thinking about how really you can't handle your feelings if you believe they're based on facts. And how much this teaching is needed to finish or supplement the 12-step work. Because you need to understand reality, really. My hat goes off to those who don't, have really any spiritual teaching that fall back on, and still succeed in, being abstinent or whatever it is they need to do. And I guess that's just a comment. I really didn't have any questions or anything, but. And the other thing I'm not an alcoholic, but I do enjoy a drink every now and then. And I was thinking today, as I was sitting there, boy, a drink would be good right now. And then another thought came, well, why are you thinking that? And I realized it was based on a sense of a little bit of discomfort, a little lack of self-esteem, a little buffering needed to buffer against something. And I realized that without this work, I wouldn't have realized it, but this work has led me to see that I didn't need to have that drink, and that I was perfectly fine without it. And it was sort of serendipity. It doesn't sound like much when I say it, but it was pretty striking to me. So I just wanted to say how grateful I am for your classes, Lee, and for what I'm learning.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here, and that experience that you had is the experience that prevents people from giving up smoking successfully. Nicotine, like alcohol for people who can have a drink now and then, nicotine is a buffer between me and the world. It suppresses the glitch and gives me something to do, instead of answering you immediately, I can light a cigarette, or it changes me and suppresses the glitch, and alcohol lifts me a little bit, and all these things are, you use the right word, they're buffers between me and reality. They're ways to not deal with what's going on.
Well, I do know that eventually I have to give up any and all alcohol. It's not a huge deal in my life right now, but it's enough so that it's getting my attention. Mm-hmm. So,
but it will leave you. It will leave you as you go higher spiritually. All these things will drop away from you one by one when it's time. So if it's not a problem, then it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I saw on your website was, the last thing I wanted to mention that I saw on your website was that you said something about the purpose of this class is to replace the false belief that the scripts are based on correct spiritual truth. And I thought that was an interesting statement. You didn't say we're trying to replace the false belief that the scripts are based on reality. You're saying the scripts are based on correct spiritual truth. And for me, that was...
You must be reading a typo.
Really?
It must be.
Well, maybe I had to read that.
Yeah, I don't say that. I would not say that the scripts are based on reality or on spiritual truth. Scripts are based on a lie.
No, I know that. But
The terror that's because of a belief and because of belief that a lie is true. In fact, we can go even further now. Scripture are just based on terror, fear, universal fear. Fear that there's a power other than God. All scripture are based on the conditioned belief that there is a power other than God that is going to annihilate me.
And for those who believe in a traditional God, the belief that we deserve to be in hell or whatever it is that we're dealing with because we've been bad.
Yeah, that's makes it. Yeah, if you're still at that level of consciousness, this work will be almost impossible for you. That's why Joel spent so many years, before he started teaching his higher truth, he spent so many years teaching the nature of God. That's why the first principle, the first teaching of the infinite way before anything else is the nature of God. Because he really wants to get it really clear that God doesn't do anything. God will not, God doesn't make decisions or change things or get influenced by you or do anything today that is not doing yesterday or, God just is being and, so, and the reason that it's so important to get that is because if you haven't got that, then you haven't got a chance with the rest of it. The nature of error has no meaning, the nature of man has no meaning, the nature of prayer has no meaning. You can't possibly know those unless you understand the nature of God. And it is not an orthodox understanding.
I understand that. It's just that there's a little script that yells my name sometimes. So, and it's based on that. So,
Sure.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yep. All of our script beliefs are we can understand, and this is sort of what the topic of this is, we can clearly understand that the principle of the infinite way and the foundation of the pointing at the moon and all of that is that there is only one power, there is only one existence, there's only one substance, there's only one consciousness, there's only one, right? And yet, fear, script is based on the belief, the conditioned belief that there is a power out there separate from God that can eliminate this life that I have that is separate from God, right? Which is the definition of the human condition. A human being is one who believes it has a life separate and apart from God, and that there are powers separate and apart from God that are having an effect on us. That's what it means to be human. That's what the human experience is. So that's the fundamental rub. It's all fear-based. It is so true that every human activity is based in fear.
It's easy to believe that about yourself, but it appears that everybody else out there is handling life very, very well and without fear. So
It's clearly not true.
Let me add to that.
Let me just comment first of all that the primary psychological problem in the world is social phobia, which is fear of social situations, which is script. The second most, that's the third most. The second most common problem in Western society is addiction to food, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever, which is to say anesthetizing ourselves because of our fear. The primary problem is depression, kids that have given up any hope of ever dealing with their fear, and then there are the ones, of course, who are repressed with rage because of whatever's going on in their life, but, and 80% of the people that you meet on the street are medicated because of their fear, medicated so that they can exist with their fear because they don't have the tools that are necessary to develop the God consciousness that is the only elimination of fear. Joel was talking in a tape I've been listening to the last couple of days, off and on. I guess this is why I was listening to it. His point is that he says every miserable situation, every miserable condition in the world is based in fear. And he says every miserable condition in the world is based in script, and the two are the same statement, okay? And he says that the only way to deal with, he says it's point blank, the only way to deal with fear is to, first of all, recognize that fear is universal fear. It's not personal, it's universal fear that we have accepted. It's in our life because we've allowed it in, but it's just a universal human fear, okay? And it's not a power. So first of all, you separate yourself from the fear, and second of all, you must recognize that the fear does not have, the source of the fear, that whatever you're afraid of, whatever it is that you're afraid of, does not have any power. It's just in the human consciousness, okay? And it does not have any power unless you accept it, okay? And that you must do that before you can, that's the only way to get rid of the fear, okay? Everything else is anesthetics, you know, like drugs and alcohol and sugar and all the food problems especially are just anesthetic because of the fear. Low-lying, deep, intrinsic fear that just pervades humanhood. What do you have, Jay?
Well, I was going to talk a little bit about the terror that I suffer from. Mm-hmm. And that I have been unable to put together a consistent effort in work. Mm-hmm. And it feels like that this situation that I put myself in, it feels just like it did when I was a real small kid, terrified. And I understand that I'm the one that's terrifying me. And we may have just given the key right there, but
which eye is the one that's terrifying me? Let's look at that.
Well, it's the small eye. So
the kid's terrifying himself.
Exactly.
By the story.
Exactly. Yes. And that I keep radiating that script so that it's always fulfilling in one area or another in my life. And I guess I just needed to say that.
Yeah.
And that I've been seduced somehow into the belief that all these gifts that I have, as far as my personality and the spiritual understanding that I enjoy, aren't worth anything. And I'm the one that's doing it. The small eyes.
Yeah, keep separate.
Yeah.
Watch you use your eyes.
So that this distinction that you just made about the fear, well, for me, it's terror. It's absolute. It's all the way down to the marrow. Mm-hmm. And if I've never had the opportunity to look at it and say what the truth about that terror is, that it is the belief in the other power. And I thought something other than one. So I don't know, I just, because it's all just crashing down around me, and I realize, because of this class that we're on Saturday, it feels like I have the opportunity to actually walk through it this time in a way that I never believed, or I would never accept that I could walk through it. So that's just
Start using the terminology part of me would never believe. Part of me would never accept it, because you keep saying I, and I didn't believe any of that.
Yeah. And it is a part of me, and I really
It is a part of me.
Yeah.
But, there's a part of me that believes that all this stuff is worthless, or that, let's use the right vocabulary. That it's not I doesn't believe that.
Correct. There's a part of me that believes that I deserve to be terrified at all times.
Or that I should be.
Or I should. And I agree.
So there's a part of you that believes that, and this is the definition of script, there's a part of me that believes that that people or situations, or getting my script read, has the power to annihilate me.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is fear of annihilation. I mean, it really is. That's what the terror fear. The fear is I'm going to disappear. I'm going to lose this person, and I'm going to be gone forever, So there's a part of me that believes that there's a power out there that can annihilate me. And that's a lie. Just can't, that's inconceivable to a spiritual contact. The work is there. So we got this spiritual adult that knows a great deal of truth, okay? And we got this kid that's absolutely conditioned to believe that something is going to, because it put his shoes on backwards, it's going to be thrown out of the tribe and going to die and be eliminated, okay? That's the dilemma. We have this truth, and we have this kid that is deeply conditioned to believe that its life is separate from God's, and that there's a power out there that can eliminate it. Okay? And the details of it differ according to what Scripture is, but the bottom line is that I will be rejected. When this happens, I will be rejected, and I'll die, because there's all sorts of powers out there that will eliminate me. And so the work is very clearly correcting the kid's belief, bringing the kid to recognize that there's no power out there and that the power is here. But, that's a long, hard deprogramming task, I guess. Or I suppose we could be healed of it. I suppose we could actually, I find it very curious that this work is coming after 10 months of studying healing in this room. There's no difference between a script and the fluid. It's a universal human belief which has been, which we've accepted, in ignorance. There is a difference between, there is a difference in the intensity between the script and the fluid. The dynamic is the same thing. Human beings believe that blah, blah, blah is going to kill them, okay? Or human beings believe that flu germs can cause flu, okay? Now, what's happened is that in the case of our script, it did, okay? And we radiated it the next time and did again, and we've been around the loop so many times that it has become personal. And when it becomes personal, it's a kid. Whereas the flu virus is impersonal. But we let it in, and we catch it or we don't, according to the statistics, but it's impersonal. But there's no difference. I mean, all of it is this universal human belief that power is separate from God. And all of it is the extent to which that's the big radiator. The universe, the 6 billion are the big ones that are radiating. They're the ones that are radiating script. Okay, they're radiating all the scripts 24/7. And we are letting those in that are applicable to us. And so we let in fear that will never be accepted, and we let in the flu, and we let in fear that will never be good enough, and we let in cancer, and what we accept, what we don't keep out, because it's there subliminal. It's what we don't keep out. That's why Bill talks so much about protective work, because it comes in subliminally. It's what we express is what we don't specifically keep out, either by being in the presence or by specific protective work. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you if you thought that it could be said too that what we're really scared of is kind of like turning on the light. Not necessarily, I mean, I think it's the same thing in different words maybe, but it seems to me that the part of me that's terrified is the part that will be annihilated as soon as the light comes on, or that it's...
Yeah, that's a nice intellectual theory, but that part, there is no such part. There is no such part of you. There's just the universal human belief that seems to be personal to you because you've allowed it to come in. Yeah, I don't have any experience of any part of me that is trying to prevent me from becoming enlightened so that because it will die, you know, that I never had any experience of the part of me that died, that disappeared, being afraid to go away. What I had experience of is a kid that was afraid of not being accepted and there being a physical death, okay? And the script fears. The fears are all the fears that I have, and I hear that, you know, and people talk about that, but that wasn't my experience. I did not experience part of me that was clinging to existence, you know. It would be a thought in my intellect if there were. There is no such part. Just beliefs.
Isn't it kind of like, I kind of feel the same way, just that it would be letting go of like the whole person that you were. If you really get into this, like I feel resistant a little bit, because I'm like afraid to, I'm afraid to analyze too much, like it's scary. I just starting this and thinking,
Yeah, you're saying.
I want somebody ignorant to know this.
Yeah, what you're saying, what you're both saying, I'm hearing it, is that there's a part of you that doesn't want to change.
A little bit, yeah.
There's a part of you that likes some significant part of what's going on in her life, actually. When you look at it, there's not, but the truth is that there's no part of you that really likes what's going on in your life, or you wouldn't be in the script class. What's going on is there's a part of you that's afraid to change because it's more afraid of the unknown than the misery it knows. Okay? That's the real truth, is that there's that part of you is you're more afraid of the unknown than you are of continuing to live in the misery that you've learned how to survive in. You know, you've got to, although it is miserable. And that's a very human condition. And that's the fear we're talking about, the fear that if I do something different, I'm going to be annihilated.
I was like one more thing, I don't know. This is just like, I'm so new at this, so I
Jump in.
you guys have all been here for a long time, but
That's why we're here.
I just went to dinner with my mom and she said, you know, your life is falling into place so well. You're married, you're going to Hawaii this month, you have the perfect job, and I was like, but like, I guess it's true, but I feel like I need to go to the mental hospital. So I don't understand. I mean, I guess it's just realizing that all the outside stuff doesn't work, but it's just like a really hopeless feeling, because I see you and you look happy, and I see Dell, and I believe it, but a little bit of me doesn't believe it. It's gonna happen for me, you know, and it's just like a really terrifying.
And yet I have been where you are this lifetime. So,
It's like I want the fast forward button. I'm screwed at this point.
well, my dear, it's only taken me 31 years of focused, dedicated effort to get where I am.
And then I feel like a big shaft. Like, I should feel grateful, you know, and I shouldn't feel like this.
Should. That's apparent. That's universal human consciousness. No sentences with should and are allowed here. Everything is exactly the way it should be.
Yeah.
No, it's work to get free. Very hard work to get free. I keep telling the people that I'm with a lot, the amazing thing to me is that anybody ever gets free. That's what's amazing. It's not surprising that it's so hard. It's not surprising that it takes so long. What's surprising is that anybody gets free, and yet people do get free. More and more nowadays. The world's really turning over. Lots more free people today than there were 30 years ago. Your mother is conditioned to know what this, to know, in quotes, what the picture should look like. And if you've got a husband and a job and a trip to Kauai, your life is bliss. And that's absolute nonsense. Lots of people have husbands and wives and jobs and vacations, or 2 weeks a year, or whatever they do, and the great majority of them are miserable because their lives are completely run by script and resistance behaviors.
I feel like the person you talked before, I feel like everyone else is doing it, they're all getting along, they have all the, I mean, like so many 12-step programs, it's ridiculous, and it's like they're all getting along, and I feel defective, like, it shouldn't be like so hard, you know, it should. Everyone's getting along.
No, but they're not.
They're drinking.
They're drinking, and they're using, and they're taking stuff, and they're eating, and you don't know what they're doing behind their doors. They're eating and they're eating and puking, you know? I mean, they're eating and puking, and they're, all this stuff, you know, and you don't get to see it, you know? The whole world.
I was trying to see what's going wrong with them.
Talk to my wife, she'll tell you.
No. Things are going on with her.
No,
Just listen and come to the morning meeting. And listen to what goes on in there. It's like a lab course in script and resistance behavior. And the morning meeting is a particularly good meeting. The reason I go there is because it's a good meeting, okay? Go to the back room. Dive in, you know. Listen to all the sharing is about what's going on out there and what they're doing to me, and I'll be happy when this happens, and I'll be happy when that happens, and if only this and only that, and he's this and she's that, and on, you know.
I guess the people who are in 12-step programs, like how are they surviving?
Oh, we're all surviving. You're surviving. We're all surviving. And a lot of them aren't conscious the great majority who are not consciously on the path have all this stuff so completely repressed so that they can survive. You know, I mean, people are shocked. I watch people come in and do this work, okay, and they come in and they know that their life isn't very good because they take the misery meter test and discover that they have a high score, but they come in, and in the process of doing the script work the first time, people become aware of their scripts, okay? They weren't aware of them before. And then they become aware of their resistance behavior. They weren't aware of them before. They were doing them. And they were running their lives and dodging. Their whole life was about dodging fears and trying to find ways to do things that they were in total fear of doing. And gradually, during the course of the script work, the first time they become really aware of their script and they become really aware of the resistance behaviors. And sometimes there's this look of total horror on their face when they come to the realization that their entire life has been about nothing but script and resistance behavior, okay? And it's horrifying to them, okay? And they weren't even aware of it 4 weeks or 6 weeks earlier.
That happened to me. That kind of happened to me after my first year.
Sure. That happens to everybody. That's part of the course. I mean, but most people aren't ready to do this work. Most people are not consciously on the path. Most people are doing fine, the 12-step programs are just fine to a certain level, and lots and lots and lots of people arrive at a plateau in 12-step work. I mean, there's a nice spiritual foundation to it, and you get a practice of selflessness, and you get a practice of being of service, and you find all these are all ways to set your misery aside for a while, okay? And if you really get into a lot of service and you sponsor a lot of people, you can set your misery aside for, most of the time. But that's why, what's her name wrote that book, I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can, I mean, eventually you get to the point where you just don't have time to sponsor one more person, and you just can't take one more commitment. There's a guy in the morning meeting who has 35 commitments. Okay? Boy, if he ever stops, it's going to hit him like an express train, This is Buddha's first truth. Buddha's first noble truth is that life sucks. I mean, he didn't phrase it quite that way, but the truth is that human life is suffering. Being human, if you're a spiritual being having a human experience, the human experience is suffering. It's filled with suffering. That's the first noble truth of Buddha. Boy, that's a look.
Yeah, that really. I guess I've never heard that. I haven't read much about it, but sometimes it makes my brain hurt. I feel like I understand it, and all of a sudden maybe this kid just goes, what? I understand the duality. There's one power. I have trouble. Mm-hmm. My kid has trouble because that's obviously part of me. Anyway.
Yep.
I get it up here, but I don't always have it here.
That's the work.
And I guess, maybe I get too intellectual, but I struggle. Like if life sucks, if there is no two powers, which, on a spiritual level there isn't, so that those two powers only exist in the human consciousness. And because I believe in these spheres, or these spheres are taking, then that power is there at the human consciousness.
Now, there are powers in the material and the mental world.
Okay.
There are lots of powers in the material and in the mental world.
Right, and our goal is to get to the spiritual level, because then that negates everything down here.
That's why it's called a transcendental consciousness. We'd like to transcend all these powers. Oh yeah, there is evil in the material world. And there is evil in the mental world. There are good kahunas and bad kahunas. There are good witches and bad witches. There are cursors and blessers. There are powers. Don't doubt it for a second. There are powers in both the material and the mental.
It's a matter of buying into it. So if you buy into that, then you're going to experience that.
If you believe, then you are in the human consciousness. You're in the material consciousness. If you believe that the flu germ has the power to cause you to get sick, then you are operating in the level of material consciousness.
Right.
If you believe that the witch doctor can make you sick, you are operating at the level of mental consciousness. Okay. If you believe in these powers, then they are powers.
So Buddha said that because he's saying that the human existence is
human existence is suffering. He's saying the same thing that Joel's saying when he says that every human action is based in fear. The human existence, the unenlightened existence, is a fear-based, script-based, resistance behavior-based life of suffering and trying to avoid suffering. And it's point to point. Trying to stuff it back into the box, keeping the lid on it, back existence, lifetime after lifetime,
So.
And he said when he had his enlightenment experience, his comment was, not that I'm enlightened or not that I've seen blah, blah, blah. His statement was, I am awake. He saw that was just his belief manifesting in mind, okay? And now that he no longer has that belief, he has a different experience. He woke up. He was awake. stop believing in all that nonsense. Oh,
I don't remember where I read this. I think it was a Joel book where, was it Buddha or was it where his father offered him tons and tons of, I think it was Buddha, riches and riches, and he's just like, no, because it's not. Anyway, I don't remember trying to remember the story, but anyway, that's
Buddha,
the point. No,
Buddha was the son of a king.
Yeah. But when you get to that point, you don't want those things or care about them, right?
You don't care about anything because it's all you know. It's all just images in mind. There's no reality.
You thinking about things I want.
That's what's keeping you in material and mental consciousness is attachments. What the Tanya always said, you know, attractions and the things we want and the things we attachments and the retractions and you know, Barbara's list of love, hate, fear, and desire. And those are the things that make you human. Those lists really have to be empty before you're free.
Well, one of the things I want is peace of mind, but even that in itself is wanting to get something as opposed to consciousness.
Your mind right now is infinitely peaceful.
Really?
Perfectly, it's the only mind there is. It's all these thoughts you've got running around as if they're bothering you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mind is absolutely silent. Yeah.
Hi, Cynthia. I listened in on Saturday, the kid class, and it was a good class, and I had missed the week before we went to a wedding, and so it was really good to hear where everyone was at, and I heard somebody talking, and it related a lot to it, and about having conflicting kids. And I know, I mean, in the previous kid classes, I recognized that you know, the little one and the teenager have different scripts, and you know that the resistance behaviors of the one really, I don't know if it's frightens or the other, you know, that they don't work well together.
Reads the script.
Read the script. That's what we were talking about. And that's so clear to me, and I'm seeing that, but I also feel very powerless over it. It's been interesting watching. I know at the beginning of the class we talked about the very first session about doing some specific tools, which were, you know, depending on where we were at, you know, looking at resistance behaviors or doing the writing or whatever. So I started trying to be real aware of, you know, my resistance behaviors that were still maybe operating, and just watching that, and also just because of certain circumstances, getting opportunities to maybe not do those, you know, because I'm one of those run as fast as you can, and again, in a position where I'm supposed to be quiet and slow down and not do a lot right now, and I was in bed over the weekend from Saturday until this afternoon, and of course I'm here now because I thought this would be a good place to be, but that was, even leading up to it, it was anxiety producing. For whatever kid doesn't like to do that. The one is, and this is what I heard somebody share, that's exactly what, the little one was really looking forward to, like, oh, thank God we have an excuse not to go anywhere and to be in bed. Magazines, I mean, she didn't want to do any spiritual work, because I was like, you know, getting on my, thinking I'd do some work. She just wanted to, you know, watch movies and, you know, do all the whatever, not do anything, but she was looking, that part of me was looking forward to that, but then the other part was very resistant to that, and so it was just interesting to watch that. And you know, I know last time I had to kind of do this, it was very hard for me, and I just I slowed down, but it was hard for me not to exercise or to be physical, because that's just something that helps me feel better physically. And, but I don't think it was really, I don't know, but, you know, it was suggested maybe not to do that. So, you know, I can just feel that. And I'm like, you know, some people it wouldn't be an issue, you know, but for me it's like, oh God, you know. And so I'm just taking a look at that. And then also just with the, I think that the older one is repressing the small, I mean, I know this, is repressing the small one, and I can't seem to get in touch with that smaller one, the younger one, and get that, when I've done the writing, I've done 3 or 4 different names in the last round of work, I haven't been able, I mean, I've got a lot out, but I haven't really felt like what you talked about on Saturday, like that dumping scene. I mean, I felt like I was getting writing, but it didn't feel like anything that I really, I don't know, maybe it didn't have to feel like anything, but I didn't feel like any movement with her. So that's just kind of where I'm at. And it's pretty uncomfortable. I felt that feeling of repression for quite a while, but I just haven't been able to get to that, you know.
Just keep aware of it. You know, you're still on top of it. You're not down in it yet. Just keep aware of it, and really keep it intimate to you. I mean, really get out of the habit. We all need to do this of talking about my older kid and my younger kid. Because, you know, there's a part of me that's in conflict with another part of me. Okay, if I'm looking at it that way, if I'm looking at it as parts of me, it's not nearly as mysterious and it's not nearly as far from me. There's part of me that's afraid to do this, and so I do these resistance behaviors. But there's a part of me that's afraid that the resistance behaviors are going to cause this, you know, and you can just look at the dynamic within yourself as a part of yourself, you know, and it just seems to me that that's much more intimate and easier to see and easier to deal with than at the distance. And I'm not saying don't write to those parts of yourself, because certainly it's the writing that untaps these parts that have been repressed and such like. But I like that dynamic of just seeing what's really going on with yourself.
Is that some, I kind of heard people talking about that a little bit, and maybe that was something I missed, but was that a new thing that was uncovered or something? Because we got always in the past, I know we didn't say me because we were trying to make sure we were I, because like what you were saying with Jay, but I thought that was, I mean, is that something new then?
I keep getting it more and more every time I started out saying that I want to talk about the kid part of me, okay? But I don't even want to say the kid part of me. I want to say there's a part of me that's afraid to go to school. You know, not I have a 7-year-old that's afraid to go to school. I'm afraid to go to school. It's part of me, okay? And there's a part of me that wants to do this, and there's a part of me that's afraid that if I do that, this will happen, okay? So, I mean, because that's the reality of it, is that these are all parts of you, and we are in conflict with ourselves. And we can't, and that's this horrible fight, because putting out this fear causes this one. You know, trying to control this fear exacerbates this fear, so that's the deal. And the realization, the thing that Joel said, I'm not sure what to do with it yet, but the deal is that if both kids realize that nothing could kill them, if both kids realize their oneness with God, oneness with the spiritual adult, then there would be no fear. He's right about how to get rid of the fear. He's just not, like Barbara points out, he's not very good at methods.
This is it, Val. I've been really, it's been a real interesting days, and that's really what, first of all, I never could always catch the glitch. Wasn't able to, and now I always catch the glitch, and something really should end up exactly what it is, that there is an I always present to see that never was, and that I used to hear you say you have to always catch the glitch, and I never would catch it, or maybe right after, but that's absolutely it, and just practicing, you know, the meditate, all that stuff, And now, there's always a witness to this, and that's been illuminating a lot of this, the dynamics of what's happening even really clearly. And clearly a part of me believes, and there is this conditioned belief that I always have to do it myself. And that's a resistance behavior. I didn't realize that I never asked for help. Rarely. I do sometimes now, but in particular areas, there's no asking for help, and then another part of me feels suffocated by that very behavior of having to do everything. And it's just really an interesting dynamic. I didn't realize how pervasive it is. And then, simultaneously, like through this, I've had this tremendous sadness come up. And there's nothing to do but feel that. And that is, I've had periods in this work where I would have either anger come up or sadness, and it just needs to be expressed. I really get that. So, when you're going through all this crying, and it's not even based on a belief, it's just like a lot of old sadness, because, as I really didn't everything that it turned to. And I just don't think I've ever felt that. And so the old conditioning is that there must be something to do about this.
There is. Cry.
Yeah, exactly. So I just, kind of let myself cry.
All the tears that didn't get cried need to be cried. They're still there.
Yeah, I didn't cry any of them.
Sure. If you get slapped up the side of the head or something,
right. Exactly.
All those tears are still there. It's just like the anger.
Yeah. That's what's underneath the anger. I slammed doors for a week, and it's underneath the anger.
Yep. It has to be felt. But seeing it sufficiently clearly will stop the dynamic.
Yeah.
Because if you see it sufficiently clearly, all the parts of you see that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then it just stops. You don't have to do anything to stop this stuff except see it clearly. If you see clearly how completely it doesn't work, and then in fact it's trying to prevent it is what's causing all the difficulty. When you see clearly the dynamic, it just stops.
I can't believe I never saw that I didn't ask for help in many areas of my life. I'm always, I don't need anything. It's like, wow.
But you can say it, and if you want it done right, you better do it yourself, And that's a fact, They're not going to do it the way you would have done it. They may do it as well or better than you would have done it, but they won't do it exactly the way you would do it. And if you're convinced that your way is exactly right, then you can't let anybody do anything, can you? Let's get quiet for a minute.
Denise?
Yeah. Come in, Christy.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to thank everyone for
the consciousness that's helping me see my, my dental appearances a little more rightly, and there's still a part of me that apparently is accepting the belief that I have this infection because it's still here, but the pain is gone. So if anybody, is looking to practice a little more of the healing work,
we all are looking
all assistance is greatly appreciated.
We're all looking for an opportunity to practice more. Hold our feet to the fire, kid. We're with you until all.
Okay, I appreciate it.
We're with you until all appearances are gone. We're not done until you're done.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all. I love you all, and I'll see you next week, I hope.